These are the lecture notes for Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is still on cells, but it's focusing on the plasma membrane structure and function. And then since materials that come into the cell and leave the cell, those materials are being transported across the plasma membrane. This is also the chapter where we discuss transport into and out of the cell, transport of materials into and out of the cell. Okay, so there are 4 sections, and they're all important. Plasma membrane structure and function, passive transport across a membrane, that means transport that does not require energy, and then active transport across a membrane, and then the last section is on modification of cell surfaces. So the first 3 sections are more important. But the last section is important as well. The first 3 are the most important, though. Okay, section 1 on plasma membrane structure and function. One thing that we've already learned, but this is just review, is that every cell, every single cell, whether it's prokaryotic, eukaryotic, plant, animal, fungi, algae, every single cell is surrounded by a plasma membrane. So the plasma membrane is found in all types of cells. Now the structure of the plasma membrane, we call that a fluid mosaic model. And the reason is because the phospholipid bilayer is fluid. It's these molecules are able to move past each other slowly, but they are able to move. So its phospholipid bilayer means that it has a double layer of phospholipids. The surface on the inside and outside of the cell is lined with the hydrophilic polar heads of the phospholipids, and then the tails are nonpolar and hydrophobic. I don't know why that's not highlighted. Let me highlight it. Let's see. There we go. All right, so the tails are nonpolar and hydrophobic, and they are found sandwiched in between the hydrophilic polar heads. There are 3 components of the plasma membrane. There's the main component, which is the phospholipid bilayer. Within the phospholipids, you would find large protein molecules, and then you would have cholesterol. And cholesterol is going to affect the fluidity of the membrane. It's going to either make it more of a solid or more of a fluid, more of a liquid. So here is the fluid mosaic model of the plasma membrane. As you can see, we've got 2 layers of phospholipids, phospholipid bilayer, and the heads are represented by these blue spherical structures. To me, a phospholipid looks like a balloon with 2 tails, with 2 strings hanging down from it. So the hydrophilic heads are actually the phosphate part of the phospholipid bilayer. The hydrophilic heads contain a phosphate group and a glycerol. The tails are fatty acids. So phospholipids are composed of phosphate group and a glycerol that forms the hydrophilic heads. And you can see the heads will face outside the cell, they'll face inside the cell, and most of the time they are in contact with some type of fluid. Even if it's a cell that forms your skin and that outside part is contact with the air is still a fluid. And it has a lot of water in it, has a lot of water vapor in it. So the hydrophilic heads, hydrophilic means water loving. That means that they are soluble in water. They are attracted to water. And the hydrophobic tails, hydrophobic means water fearing. That means that they will turn inward and face each other so they won't come in contact with the water. So that's the phospholipids. Then we have these large orange molecules. Those are proteins. Some of the proteins have carbohydrate chains attached, and we call them glycoproteins. And then we also have carbohydrate chains that are attached just directly to a phospholipid, and that would be called a glycolipid. And then you have the purple 4 ring structures that are the cholesterol. Yeah, this is just showing a close-up view. You can see the cholesterol a little bit better. Got 3 cholesterol molecules here. You've got the phospholipid bilayer, and you've got the proteins. Okay, so glycoproteins and glycolipids that are found within the plasma membrane. This would be a protein with a carbohydrate chain attached. That's where glyco comes from. Or a lipid with a carbohydrate chain attached. These carbohydrate chains contribute to the cell's fingerprint. In other words, when a person needs a tissue or an organ transplant or a blood transfusion, we're trying to find a match between the carbohydrate chains that the person has in their natural body tissues and body fluids and compared to the donor. So the match that we're trying to find is within these carbohydrate chains. They're very specific to specific tissues, to a specific person, you know. So glycoproteins are proteins with attached carbohydrate chains. Glycolipids are lipids with attached carbohydrate chains. And again, all of these carbohydrate chains are going to be on the outside of the cell. Okay. And they will identify your cell to your immune system, so your immune system won't attack your own cells unless you have an autoimmune disease, and that's when things kind of break down. But anyway, moving on, we're going to talk about the proteins that are found embedded within the phospholipid bilayer. One type are called channel proteins. These proteins have a pore or a hole that runs all the way through the plasma membrane. They allow the passage of molecules through the membrane through a channel in the protein. Carrier proteins also function in transporting substances across the membrane, but they actually combine with the substance to be transported. It's not just an open channel. They chemically combine with the substance that they are transporting. A third type of protein is called cell recognition proteins, and this would be the glycoproteins. They're going to help the body recognize its own cells and also help the body recognize foreign cells, because foreign cells will have glycoproteins that your immune system does not recognize. Now, moving on to receptor proteins, these are proteins that bind with specific molecules, and then the cell will respond to signals from other cells, okay? So I'll give you an example. Well, we're going over these, so there's probably an example in the slides. Okay, there's also proteins that are called enzymatic proteins. This is the same thing as just enzymes, and we already know what enzymes are. Enzymes are protein catalysts. They speed up chemical reactions. And then there are junction proteins, and junction proteins attach the cell to adjacent cells. Okay, here's a picture of a channel protein. In this particular example, it's a channel protein for chloride ions. Now, in the respiratory system, this channel allows chloride ions to cross, and then once they cross, water will follow the chloride ions, because water, one thing we always learn in anatomy and physiology, and I tell my biology students the same thing, is water follows salt. Water moves to where the saltier solution. So if sodium ions and chloride ions have moved into the cell, water will then follow. It will cause water to move into the cell. Or if I think in this case, the chloride ions are moving out, so water is going to move out. The problem is in some diseases like cystic fibrosis, is a disease where this chloride ion channel is faulty. It has a faulty chloride ion channel. And since the chloride ions can't move across, neither can water. So water doesn't move in and mix with the mucus and thin it out. So the mucus builds up in your lungs and causes it to be really hard to breathe. So they have to cough, they have to break up that mucus, they have to do, breathing treatments, and it's not just the lungs. Also, a thick mucus collects in the pancreatic and liver ducts, not only the lungs. And this is because all comes back to a faulty chloride ion channel. So you can see a channel protein just has a pore that goes directly from one side of the plasma membrane to the other. A carrier protein is very similar, but it will actually bind with the substance to be transported. Once it binds with that substance, it will change shape and move it across. So there are glucose carriers, there are sodium carriers, carrier proteins and channel proteins are specific. This is a cell recognition protein, and hopefully you notice that it is a glycoprotein. Cell recognition proteins are glycoproteins. This is one of the MHC glycoproteins, and MHC stands for Major Histocompatibility Complex. Histo means tissue, and compatibility means for compatible. So these are the proteins that function in tissue compatibility when someone needs an organ transplant. Receptor proteins. So the orange molecule is the protein, and notice it has this shape here. And that shape should fit with the substance that's going to bind to it. I'm sorry, my highlighter's going crazy, but you see how the ligand, which is this molecule, is going to fit into the receptor protein. And so that's what a receptor protein does. In this case, the ligand is growth hormone, and the receptor protein is the receptor for growth hormone. If the growth hormone can bind to the receptor protein, then it will cause the cell to facilitate some processes important in growth. If it can't bind, if there's something wrong, then maybe the person won't grow as tall as they're supposed to, or something will be wrong in the growth process. Something will go wrong. So it's very important that our hormones are able to bind to the receptor proteins on our plasma membranes. That's what causes our cells to respond to that hormone. Okay, then we have enzymatic proteins, which are just enzymes, and they're going to catalyze chemical reactions, and these are junction proteins. So you've got one plasma membrane on top, and it is being connected to another plasma membrane from another cell, so that those cells can be connected to each other and form a tissue. And this is all the same ones. This shows you the 6 different plasma membrane proteins. Now, the next section is on how cells communicate with one another. One way is called a signal transduction pathway, and it gives you an example here. One signal transduction pathway has to do with the hormone insulin, which is produced by the pancreas. Insulin travels to the cells of the liver, and when the insulin binds to a receptor protein on the plasma membrane of those liver cells, it causes the liver to remove glucose from the blood and store it as glycogen. So in that way, it will lower your blood sugar. The failure to store glucose as glycogen causes a medical condition called diabetes. Some people are what is known as insulin resistant, and there's something wrong with the binding of the insulin to the receptor protein. The signal transduction pathway just doesn't work as well. So you can make lots of insulin, plenty of insulin, but the insulin is, your cells are being resistant to it. So most people with insulin resistance have a problem with their weight. They have a problem with being overweight, and they also have a problem with high blood sugars, and they can develop diabetes. This is a picture of the transduction pathway. It always starts with a signaling molecule